2026. This is the Stoughton City Council meeting, and the first order of business would be the roll call.
Okay, Hirsch.
Here.
Jensen.
Here.
Tillison.
Here.
Reeves. Here. Butler.
Here.
Schumacher.
Here.
Vienno.
Here.
Nino.
Here.
Caravello.
Here.
And Wozniak Scanlon.
Here.
Okay, we have 10 alders present. Alders Sherlucky and Abel are absent and excused.
All right, thank you. We are certified of compliance with open meeting laws, so that'll take us to public comment. Looks like we have half a dozen people signed up to speak. So in no particular order, we'll go with William will be first tonight. And then as a reminder, you can push the button, the red light will come on. That means the microphone is hot, and you get 3 minutes. I'll put up my flashcards so you have a little bit of time to wrap it up. And whenever you're ready, you can go.
Thank you. William Clifton, District 3. I will be brief. There's really two things I am hoping to emphasize and share with you to be thinking about as you consider this evening. Yes, the construction work on Highway 51, our main street, is a necessary burden. Yes, it's going to have a major impact. It already has, as I have mentioned before, on our businesses. And some of them are struggling, quite frankly, and you've heard this in the news and you've seen the commercial changes for all of that. This burden will continue into 2029. This is not ending, but it will end. However, some businesses may not survive that or will struggle to come back, and it'll be very hard for them. The cameras, too, are a burden, but they're not a necessary burden. They have a major financial impact as well. Think of the combination now of what we're experiencing, the combination of the road work happening until 2029, already having an impact on our businesses, and people saying, ooh, I don't want to go there. I mean, look at all the, I don't want to drive through that construction. And now add to that the desire to avoid these cameras, to avoid being under scrutiny with everything that you do. And then add to that our desire to expand our community. What's happening that will be on the north side across from Matt Park, all of the construction that soon will be there. Who will want to move there, to be near businesses that are struggling, to be in a community that's always being monitored? Financially, this is going to have a really awful impact on us, and you need to take that into consideration. We are being harmed already. Why would you make it worse? I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Next would be Jason.
All right. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. Is this on?
Yep, you're good.
Hi. So we haven't actually, you guys haven't done anything yet. You haven't spoken about anything, openly. So I feel like it's really, premature to say, oh, do this or do that. More just, I'll paint a picture. I want you to think about yourself 50 years ago, or however old you were when you were around, 5th grade. I want you to think about the world and what it looked like at that point. What were people afraid of? Whatever they were afraid of, I'm sure it was very scary. For some people in the 80s, it was the AIDS epidemic. For some people in the 60s, it was redlining or whatever. There's always somebody you can go and say, that person's the cause of my problems. 50, years later, we're still doing the same thing. So you have an opportunity to say, let me think back to 50 years ago, what was I afraid of? Today, you're afraid of people judging you. You're worried about making the wrong decision. And I don't think you can make the wrong decision if you make any decision for the right reasons. So make the right reasons. What are the right reasons? They're all right here, right in the room. And your own children and their children and every further generation that's going to have to live in Stoughton long after your 50 more years is up. I don't want my children to live in a world that was designed by people who were stepping away from it. My children have a long life ahead of them, and they don't want cameras on their faces all the time. Would you have? Would you have enjoyed it when you were out, throwing rocks at windows and whatnot? If there was a camera that said you're not allowed to be a child because the adults have said children aren't allowed? I'm not trying to finger wag. I don't care. This is all just common sense. I wouldn't want a camera in my face all the time, so why would I ever try to make other people live like that? Thank you.
Thank you. Is this a Jake?
Yeah.
Okay, Jake would be next.
Hello, counselors. I'll start by saying thank you for your time. I'm going to kind of rehash a little bit of what I said at the security meeting, just for those that weren't present. But I'm coming to speak in opposition to maintaining the contract with Flock cameras. I've spent the past 3 years in Stoughton, and I've begun to raise a family. Unfortunately, it's past the kid's bedtime, so she is not here today. But I've really begun to enjoy the community of Stoughton, and I don't believe that Flock Cameras, the company, fits our values or is a company that we should be working with. I'll remind everyone that a specific event that really spoke to me was an event on July 23rd of 2025 in Dunleavy, Georgia. A Flock vice president was able to access a girls' gymnastics room, not for any security reason, but for a sales demonstration, without any permission requested or any kind of confirmation that this was even a Flock VP. They stated that they were able to do this for a demo purpose, and when that was signed in the contract, and when asked for the provision, it could not be found. So I said in my security meeting, and I still believe it to this day, I don't just believe that Flock is not a company that we should be having a relationship with, but also I believe that they are not always being truthful to you about what this contract entails as counselors. I also want to say, I've generally been very happy with the governance of this city. And I understand that that's not always how you get with the people involvement. People often come when they're unhappy. But I want to say I've really grown to love Stoughton the past 3 years. And so this might not be a call and response type situation, but I do want to ask the question that I don't need an answer for immediately. But I'd like to know, what was the circumstance that brought us to signing the contract with Flock, and what was going through your heads? Because I've been really happy with how you guys have run the city so far, and I trust that there was a reason. And so I would like to figure that out so that we can find a way for the community to solve that problem that you were trying to solve when you signed this contract, and find a way to bring the people in this room more into that, so we don't need to solve our problems with mass surveillance. Again, thank you for your time, and I encourage us to end this contract with Flock. Thank you.
Thank you. Next would be Carrie.
Hi. Um, Thank you for the chance to speak to you tonight. My name is Carrie Kilman, and I live in District 1. Before my partner and I moved to Stoughton, we drove around the city looking for pride flags. We are a two-mom family, and we wanted to make sure that we and our child would feel welcome here. I am thrilled to let you know that the number of pride flags we saw in Stoughton rivals that of Madison's East Side. The flags themselves do not guarantee our safety, but they do say something important about this community and its values. What you see when you drive around can tell you a lot about a place. If we were considering whether to move here today, the sight of the flock cameras would give us pause. By design, cameras like these are ominous and unwelcoming. They make people feel like criminals. Being surveilled by your government tells you a lot about what your government thinks about you and your worth and your potential. I love this town. I believe it is special. Everywhere you look in Stoughton, you see people choosing to spend their time engaging in civic life in big ways and in small. The volunteers stocking shelves at the personal essentials pantry, the neighbors prepping the community garden at the start of the season, the retired couple painting yard signs encouraging everyone to vote, the book club that fills the entire back half of the old firehouse lounge, the people of all ages gathered inside a church, learning how to protect the rights of their immigrant neighbors, the volunteers who plan Juneteenth, the creative entrepreneurs who dream of film festivals and community-centered roller skating rinks and pay-what-you-can cafes, the librarians, the moms giving hugs at Stoughton Pride, the volunteer marshals at protests and parades, the bookstore owner who opens early once a month so people looking for connection can have a place to gather, the kids who paint rocks with hopeful messages and leave them on porches and park benches, the dozens of people who have filled this room over the past few weeks, waiting for their turn at this microphone. These are just a few of the countless examples. Through all of these actions, we are saying something important about what kind of community we want to build together. A community that is welcoming, vibrant, creative, and connected, where everyone has what they need to live a life with dignity. AI mass surveillance, no matter the vendor, has no place in Stoughton. What we need are more of the things that do keep our community safe. The connections we have with one another, the investments we make in one another, the green spaces, the working street lights, the safe places to live and play, the free after-school programs, the jobs that pay a decent wage, and the expectation that we belong and that our voices matter. A community that invests in these things will always be safer than a community that does not. I urge you to listen to what the people are saying. Please adopt the People's Resolution. Thank you.
Suzanne?
Good evening. My name is Suzanne Larson. I'm in the 6th Ward. I want to give the police department and the city the benefit of the doubt on one thing, that they genuinely believed Flock's marketing claims that a bigger network makes this community safer. I want to feel safe in Stoughton, but I also want to trust what's going on. And here's what the record actually shows. The department never independently vetted this vendor. Not its ownership, not its investors, not its business practices. Flock's marketing materials were taken as fact without verification in a contract that was, by design, structured to avoid public transparency and a council vote. The only real independent analysis of this system happened after the contract was already signed, done by residents on our own time because no one inside this process did their due diligence first. And when that citizen research was finally presented, it wasn't reviewed. It was sent directly to the vendor to be scrutinized, so Flock could write write the rebuttal. Records show Flock deployed 5 named employees at scale specifically to save this deal. They scripted Chief Hill's language. They offered to contact sitting alders directly to clear up any miscommunication. They offered to recruit one of the city's own IT staff as an internal advocate. And they offered to find outside voices to speak in favor of this program, because apparently not one single resident has spoken in favor of it. And they still called my research misinformation 4 days before their rebuttal even existed. Then it didn't identify a single factual error in anything I provided in the receipts document you received. I also want to shut down directly the idea that a bigger vendor network makes us safer. Every effectiveness statistic the city has ever circulated about this technology traces back to Flock's own marketing, not to independent research. No ALPR network of any size has been proven by independent research to improve safety. The proven effects of a large network is more outside agencies pulling local data faster. Within 5 weeks of these cameras going live, agencies with no connection to the original justification for the system had already requested access. So when the council was told to wait and watch what other municipalities decide before choosing a vendor, understand what that actually it is. It is not caution. It is abandoning this city's own judgment in favor of whoever moves first. Switching vendors is not a solution. It does not change the damage done to privacy, institutional sovereignty, or police procedure. And this is not a choice between mass surveillance and nothing. License plate readers exist that are not predatory. Hot list only, local data, minutes of retention instead of months. Proven effective for finding stolen vehicles and missing persons, without handing a for-profit company control of this department's data or the movements of every law-abiding citizen. Let's be clear about what these companies actually are. They are not public safety companies. They are predatory surveillance and weapons companies. I want to name something absurd. This council never voted to approve these cameras in the first place. 0 votes were required to turn them on, but apparently a vote is required to turn them off. This council should never again be in the position where activating surveillance requires nothing and deactivating it requires everything. That is legislating backwards. Adopt the People's Resolution tonight. It is the only option that addresses the needs for a binding policy requiring public review and council approval before any mass surveillance technology, regardless of funding workarounds, so that we don't find ourselves in this costly and completely avoidable situation again. Thank you.
All right. Carla?
Is this on?
Yes.
I'm Carla Hansen. I live at 1233 Jackson Street here in Stoughton, Cascade Falls. I look at my neighbors and interact with my neighbors' children. We are a sense of community, regardless of some people's actions, which could happen anywhere in the community. Are we being judged because of our income? Is this low-income housing? Why you guys are watching us? The little kids going to play at the park down the street, you know, what did the kids do walking out of the driveway? Kids walk to school from our house. Kids cross the street to go to, excuse me, my allergies, go to play to high school games. There's a lot of people from out of town that access the Jackson Street parking off the street. Would they like to know if they're being watched? There is a disabled bus that picks up the children right in front of Jackson Street. Is that okay to film special needs children? I'm a mom of a high schooler who has friends in our apartment community. What is the safety of teenagers and kids being filmed? And what is the safety in it? What is the justification? What is the time filled versus the crime that it helps? I don't know. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, that's all that I had signed up. Does anybody else wish to speak? Come on up, and we're just going to need your name and your address so we can put it in the record. Oh, looks like you have it written down. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
Dear Stoughton City Council members, a sincere thank you to the City Council for listening to community members and asking important questions in the past few meetings, and to the Safety Committee for motioning to terminate the flock contract and remove the cameras last week. I urge the City Council to extrapolate on the Mayor's resolution by adopting the People's Resolution and vote to end the flock contract immediately. The People's Resolution clearly outlines the steps to take to ensure future transparency with the Police Department. Expect more thorough scrutiny of future contracts and budget approvals, secure future community involvement in decision-making, and prevent this from happening again in the future. When making future decisions, please keep in mind the Stoughton Proclamation of Human Rights that you passed in 2025. Whereas the principles of equity, dignity, and respect for all individuals are enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Stoughton pledges to work collaboratively with community partners, advocacy groups, and governmental agencies to create an environment where human rights are protected, discrimination is eradicated, and every person can thrive with dignity and respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Hi. Thank you.
Good evening, and it is good to be here. I'm Jean Legacki, and I live at 1000 Giles in District 2, and I also served on this council for a period of time that ended in 2025. And I must say, those last few years, despite facing some personal health issues, it was rather difficult to see that the hopes for inclusion and the hopes for diversity, the hopes for social justice, the hopes for, you name it, whatever was going on publicly, I got dashed. They got dashed, those hopes of mine. And by the time I left council, I was grateful to be done. And it was such an honor to serve as a council member and try to create some inroads towards more inclusive and perhaps grassroots ways of doing things. And so when I heard that the cameras had gone up, and then I got word from various sources about how they have gone up, I wish I would have been surprised. I wish I would have been angered, but there has been a darkening. We haven't brought things to the light as much as possible. And so I'm asking you as alders, and knowing what it's like to serve and read and understand, the resolution that was put forward for tonight by the mayor is stark. It's just 2 points. And they're a good 2 points. But I'm hoping that you have seen through the example of this amazing group of people, the research and the truth that is being uncovered. I ask that you really, number one, power down, disconnect, and cover the 5 cameras within the next 24 hours. You have the right to do that. I wish we would have done it meetings ago. Please consider doing that tonight. Terminate the flock contract. I realize there's $12,500 and timeframes and various details involved, but terminate it. And in the People's Resolution, there is a lot of great material that I hope you will consider also adding to the resolution that the mayor put forward. The League of Wisconsin Municipalities, when I was geeking out on some of the city council stuff, I would frequently go there and look for information because it was statewide and they pulled from the best practices that were happening around. And their publication on artificial intelligence has 4 points that I've been wondering, have they been present in this issue? And so the League of Wisconsin Municipality calls on municipal leaders to act transparently, to act out of fairness. They ask for public engagement and then for there to be accountability. In your deliberations tonight, I ask that you involve all 4 of those things. Please consider passing or adapting and putting in and Stoughtonize the mayor's resolution. This could easily become the work of CACP because the license plate readers are the bigger artificial intelligence issue. And what are we even dealing with on that? This, to me, is the first big issue. Please act in fairness, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room wish to speak? All right. Oh, I see people. All right.
All right, hello. My name is Brenda Carus, last name C-A-R-U-S, at 2700 Oslo Run. I have been coming to these city council meetings and actually finance since literally 2 weeks after we moved to Stoughton this spring. I believe that how a government works and how they spend their money says a lot about the community. That's why I really, really value local government work. I have been very pleased with what I've been hearing in discussions up until this flock conversation. I realize it was something y'all probably never discussed, and if it was very minimal. I also have held elected official status, and I know how important it is to be a good steward of taxpayer funds. Y'all are locked into a contract, and if you choose to contract with a different license plate reader company, you are duplicating the spending of money. However, there are things more important than sometimes money, and people in this room are telling you and have been telling you that this is not a service that they want or need in this community, and I second that. Thank you.
Hello. Sorry. My name is Ty Davis. I live at 1509 Kenilworth Court. I wish I had something more fancier to say or having something written down already to bring up. But our community is, as most people know, quite small, and we are all quite familiar with each other on some level. Unfortunately, without anybody's decision, we have decided that we're going to start over-policing in our community that I think most of us can agree is relatively safe and relatively family-orientated, and we care for each other. I find it odd that we are in a situation right now where you guys are having to vote to decide whether to keep this going or not keep this going when it wasn't voted for in the first place. The people didn't decide this. You didn't decide this, or well, you approved it, but without much oversight from the community. I hope that everybody who's come out here, the communities that you've decided so desperately need to be viewed more than they already have been. I hope that you were able to pass a resolution to remove the flock cameras. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else in the room? How about anybody online wish to speak? Okay, thank you. So that concludes the portion of the public comment. This item will be coming up shortly, so I'm guessing you're all going to want to stick around. Let me queue up our next item here, and we'll get into the agenda. So the next item would be communications and presentations. Are there any communications from alders? All right, hearing none. I just have one communication, just following up at the last council meeting. We had a discussion about a conversation to meet with Stoughton Trailers. That meeting has not occurred yet, so that's why it's not on the agenda tonight. So once that meeting occurs, we'll provide an update or get an agenda item on there. So, did you have a communication?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank all the community members for coming tonight and voicing their dissatisfaction and their ideas for resolving this issue, and I appreciate you all, and thank you for putting time into it and contacting us.
Anybody else? All right, that'll take us to, we have a presentation on our bonds.
Yep, so we had our debt sale on the 15th. In the packet is the sales report series, the summary of which is that we had the AA2 rating, which we described last time. The low bidder was TD Financial Products from New York. We had 7 bidders, and our true interest cost was about 3.84%, which was almost a point below what we had in our parameters resolution. So overall, during the life of the debt, we're going to save about $911,000 in principal and interest. So that's just an update there. So we had favorable market conditions and did well at the sale.
All right, any questions about that? The next presentation is coming from Adams Sign Company, and I'll cue this up. And all right, are you guys ready?
Yes. Jack Russell, I'm the real estate manager from Adams Outdoor here in Madison, or here in the Madison area. Next slide, please. Currently, we have a back-to-back poster located downtown Stoughton at 401 East Main Street. It's come to our attention from the city of Stoughton that this current location and poster is unfavorable to the city. So we are proposing a swap to take down this static and put up back-to-back digital on another city-owned property. Go to the next slide. With our current agreement of this back-to-back poster, it's the city receives $2,000 in annual rent, and it's a 10-year lease with automatic renewals. And then in that, there's no option to remove. And we'd be proposing this new lease. So for the new lease agreement, it'd be either a 20-year lease agreement or a 20-year term easement, and the terms of the lease agreement would be $50,000 an annual lease rent payment, and that's if we were to get this billboard finalized, the lease finalized, and the billboard is placed into service before October 31st. And then if it was to happen after October 31st, the lease rent would be $25,000 per year. And like I said, that's a $20-year lease with the option to renew. And then additional to lease rent, the city would receive 5 advertising spots per year on Adams Digital Network to promote city events and initiatives. And along with that, also free access for emergency messaging, PSAs, and Amber Alerts, and all of that. Next slide. Similarly to the lease agreement, similarly to the lease agreement, we'd be offering an easement agreement, which would be same 20-year term, but instead of the $50,000 annual payment, it'd be a $500,000 one-time upfront payment for that 20-year term. And that's, again, if it's signed and the billboard is placed in service before the October 31st date. And then if it was to happen outside of the October 31st date, then that would be reduced to $250,000 payment. But the advertising flips and the free PSA would be included in both of those as well. The property we're looking at moving or having this new build for the digital structure would be at 1516 Oak Opening Drive, which is where the water retention pond is located in Stoughton. And we'd be looking at a 12 by 24 sign, back-to-back faces with a 30 overall feet. Some additional pictures of the site and a rendering of what this digital would look like. Is there any questions?
Is that rendering to scale?
Yes, it is. Yeah, that
Any
would be
other
the
questions?
12 by
Oh.
24 face.
Sure.
And this sign's gonna be illuminated. Can you tell me how bright it will be? And it will dim at night, or is it gonna be shining bright the whole time?
Yeah, Jim from Watchfire can actually answer all those questions. Jim, if you want to chime in there.
Yeah, the daytime brightness will be 7,500 nits, which is the standard across America. At nighttime, it has an automatic dimming system that takes it down to just 300 nits, which is, if you're at a building nearby, like 100 yards away or something like that, it would be equivalent to somebody turning on their porch light across the street from you. So it's there's really nothing in that area. We've done a photometric study to see the impact it may have on any buildings, and it's negligible.
Any other questions? All right. Other person, Nina?
I don't have a question. I just remember from our last meeting, we were concerned about the apartments that we thought might be across the street. But when I pull this up on Google Earth, it appears that this would be about 175 yards from that 51 North apartment complex. So I don't know if anybody else has looked into that, but I just wanted to share that information.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Anything you want to add, Director Aber?
Yeah, just a few things. So the exact location, we would work with Adams on that if you choose to move forward. We feel that it should be pulled farther to the south, actually further away from the multifamily, because there's also a commercial lot that's going to be for sale after the roundabout is put in at Rutland Downtown Line. So we don't want to conflict with that potential build out. So we'd work with Adams to move the sign further to the south in that lot. That'll be further away from the multifamily. One question for Jack. So you mentioned in the finance meeting that there'd be no flashing signs. The biggest concern that I have, of course, is traffic safety. Can you speak to that?
Jim might be better speaking to that.
Sure.
Yeah, there can be no flashing or titillation or actual movement on the board. I mean, that's by federal law. So the only place where you would have anything like that would be, well, like in Las Vegas or Times Square or on Native American properties. So it'll be snap, snap, snap. The ads will be up there for approximately 8 seconds, and then it would automatically switch to the next ad.
Jack, we get 5 ads per year. It's 28 days that would be up there for, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And then any PSAs when it comes to emergency services, Amber Alerts, those types of things, that's at our discretion. Is that correct?
Yeah, that would just be at any time you have something, send it our way and we'd get it up right away.
Perfect. And then we also, when it comes to if the council wanted to move forward, in reality, they would need to execute the lease agreement or easement agreement before mid-September in order to give you enough lead time to erect the new sign before that October 31st deadline. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
All right, Alderperson.
Can I mention here that it's about a 6-week lead time from the time that the order is placed to the time the board can be delivered. So you'd want to back it up at least a month and a half, preferably 2 months.
Thank you.
Okay. Alderperson Hirsch has a question or comment.
I was just considering who are your kind of general vendors who buy sign, advertisement. I'm just really concerned about, election coming up. I don't want our community be inundated by political signs or anti-abortion signs or pro-abortion signs. I mean, I'd really, if we do go through this, I'd rather the signs be based on community businesses and upcoming events. So can you tell me about who your clients are?
Yeah, the majority of our clients are local businesses, and if there was a certain advertisement they would not want up on the sign, say it's political or um, uh, anything really. If it was political or uh, there's or gambling or whatever it may be, that we can have an advertisement restriction within the lease that we'd put in there to make sure that nothing that sort was put up on your signs.
Okay, thank you.
Any other Alderperson Wozniak Scanlon?
What is the timeline for taking down the existing sign from downtown?
If we were to get the new lease signs, we could get that taken down within a week of the lease being signed. That could even happen beforehand, before getting the digital structure, if we were moving forward with that. So fairly quickly.
Alderperson Reeves?
Yeah, I did mention this in the finance committee, but I just wanted to be sure that we could get some addresses, that we could see these in person sooner rather than later, because it does seem like we have a short window. So for those of us that might like to visit see some of those signs in person, if we could get addresses of examples this week, that would be very helpful.
Certainly. I'll send a list over to Brett tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Of course.
All right. So I don't think we're looking for any action tonight. I think we really just wanted to provide the additional information that was requested by the alders. Is there anything else that you'd like to see before the next council meeting? I mean, I heard lighting, I heard some examples of some signs. Anything else?
Could we have some examples of potential advertisement that'll be on there?
Definitely, yes.
Okay. We can
Tim,
do
if
that.
you want to queue up those other slides, those are some examples.
Yeah, the ones I'm looking at here, I don't know if those are the same ones that were in the finance packet. Yeah, that's Chris's. I can pull up the finance quick and grab those. Just take me a second.
I actually have a list of about 300 businesses that have a history of advertising on digital billboards or on billboards in general. And it's everything from accounting to zoos. And I guess that anybody in the local area, whether it's an attorney or a HVAC guy or a pest control person or a plumber or electrician, those are the types of people that would advertise on this billboard.
Okay. Here's the other slides. Who wants to walk through them?
Yeah, I can walk through these.
Okay.
These are just some stats of the PSA on our Sun Prairie Digital that we have on property owned by the city. In 2024, they ran 796,348 flips for PSA alerts and community messages. So that proved to be very, very valuable to them. And this next slide is just a letter of support from the former mayor of Middleton. We also have a digital billboard in Middleton. And along with the PSAs, we also do an Adams Collaborative program. And so with that, since 2016, we partnered with dozens of Dane County area nonprofits and offered free advertising and promotion fundraising events. And through that, we've given $250,000 worth of free advertising to these nonprofits. And if you scroll to the next slide, these are a couple examples of those. So these are some of the advertisements that you'll see on the digital if it was to go up. And then the next couple slides are just examples of a couple of those creatives.
Any questions about any of these slides? Okay. Thank you both for being here tonight.
Pleasure.
Anything else you want to close with, Brett?
Yeah, I know later in the agenda, the council has an opportunity to go into closed session to discuss a potential lease or to give staff direction on what they'd like to do. So, depending on what the outcome of that is, Jack, I'll be in contact with you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Pleasure. Take care.
All right, so that's it for the presentations tonight, and it leads us into the consent agenda. And there's a number of items that are listed in the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jensen, second by Tillotson. Anybody like anything acted on separately from the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Next item would be, is it R102?
R97.
R97, okay. You want to push that down, or what do you want to do? Yeah, so it goes with the CUP. Okay, so we'll skip that one for now, and we'll go right on to R103, since that's what everybody's here for. Where would we like to start? I mean, basically, I guess we'll start from the committee, because it was at the committee, was that last week? If you want to
Yes.
just give us a summary, that would be great.
Actually, I was going to let you do that, Mayor.
Oh, okay. Well, I can do that, too.
All right, so it's a first reading of Resolution 103-2026, resolution regarding automated license plate reader cameras. I'll let you take it from there.
Okay, so basically, it's a resolution, and what I did is I tried to take the history of kind of what we knew as far as how we got here regarding the automated license plate readers and the flock camera, and then give the committee and the council some options of what they might want to do. And that's basically what's on the resolution that was at the public safety meeting. And then based on that, when you get to the resolution and the therefore, that was the language that came out of the committee as the recommendation. That language was reviewed by the city attorney as well as the committee. Certainly, it's open for discussion. We can take action tonight. I guess my intent was really at least get to a point where if we're going to remove the cameras or disable them, we could get that done sooner than later. And then some of the other issues that were brought to our attention in what's being referred to as the people's resolutions, we could still consider either tonight or at a later meeting. Some of it is fairly complicated because some of it, I'll let the city attorney explain it, might be by resolution, some of it might be by ordinance. And it was a pretty comprehensive list, and I appreciate the time that people put into putting that together, because even my little resolution I put together, took a little bit of time. I can only imagine how much time it took for others to get together and put their thoughts together and come to an agreement of what that language should look like. So kudos for that effort. Anything you want to discuss?
So I guess the resolution tonight, if it's adopted, it would give direction to staff to terminate the agreement with Flock. I think we talked about maybe in the past, the agreement itself doesn't allow for early termination, so we basically have to buy ourselves out of the contract in all likelihood. So the resolution itself would direct staff and us to do that, basically in a manner that is consistent with the agreement, or basically a mutual resolution for Flock, where we basically take off the cameras, pay them off whatever amount is, whether it's the remainder of the contract amount, to terminate the agreement right away. If the council wants to take any additional actions, it can certainly do so. I know there's been some discussion about, restricting, like prohibiting these types of cameras in the future. There is case law that says that, one council can't permanently bind the hands of a future legislative body. So you could potentially by ordinance create a process for how contracts like this are handled in the future, but we couldn't do a straight out prohibition about blocking these types of cameras in the future. So, if it's more of a discussion of process about how this would happen, if the council, let's say 10 years from now wanted to reevaluate, you could create an ordinance that creates a process for that. I guess the flip side is that council could repeal that ordinance, right? Because you can't bind their hands permanently, but you could at least put a policy in place that you feel represents the values that the council has. So tonight, if you wanted to terminate the agreement and then send this back to Public Works or CACP for what the contract process might look like in the future, that's certainly an option if you wanted to hash it all out tonight and create the framework. That is also a possibility. It's just trying to find the consensus for what direction the council wants to go.
So I guess my question would be is, if the council were to want to terminate the contract tonight, are there any risks involved in doing that as far as being sued? Or, it sounds like we'd have to pay the additional $12,500 and basically write that off. But other than that, is there any additional risks that you or the chief are aware of that might come into play?
Not that I can, not any apparent risks, I guess. Like I said, it's typically just going to be we buy ourselves out of the contract, so they get the payment, and then we just terminate, make sure that all the city data is deleted and remove the cameras as quickly as possible.
Okay. Something you want to add, Chief Phil?
Yeah, I reached out to Flock with that and a couple other questions. If the council were to not want to continue, what our options were. I first asked if we could get a full refund of the money we paid. Answer to that was no. Asked if we could just pay for the 1 year and then get out of the second year, not pay and not have services next year. Answer to that was also no. So then I said, excuse me, can we get out, and then would we still have to pay both years? And their answer was yes. To get out of the contract, we just pay the contract in full. So we've already paid the $12,500. We would pay the remaining $12,500. They would come and get their cameras, deactivate our accounts, it would be done. So that's what they've said as well, is the same as what the attorney's saying is.
And is that something we can put in writing, or?
I've got it in an email from them. I could ask for that in a contract form.
Yeah, I think that would be something that maybe you and the city attorney might want to work on. And then how quickly did they say they could deactivate or remove?
They told me that if this is voted on tonight, and I don't know if it's set to be voted on tonight or at the next meeting, that they could have somebody here as soon as the next day, so tomorrow, to remove the cameras. In the past, they also told us the cameras were going to be installed in March, and then they did that in May. So much like a lot of companies, they're sometimes slower. So take that information what it is, but that's what I was told by the company this week, is that they had an opening and they could take them down tomorrow.
If they didn't take them down tomorrow, what are our options? Could we take them down?
I don't know if I wouldn't trust the police department to take them down without damaging them.
Yeah.
The street department may or may not. Other communities have also bagged them, which makes them ineffective. They can't collect any more data if they can't see cars or license plates. So that would be another option if they didn't come. That was part of the reason I'd reached out to them, is when I saw the heat, what I didn't want to happen was we throw plastic bags over an electronic device, cook the device, and then we end up having to buy the cameras, which we're only leasing right now anyways. And that's when they said we'd be able to get them the next day. So if given that direction, I guess I would reach out to Flock. I guess email them immediately after this meeting or the next meeting if that's the direction I'm given, to confirm that and then monitor it. I've also reached out to the street department and they have availability to have somebody bag them if we choose to go that route.
Okay. Alderperson Jensen?
Thank you.
You got your mic on?
Sorry. A couple of questions. Chief Phil, at the public safety meeting, you also mentioned one thing when you were talking to the Flock representative, and that was something about defunding the contract would eliminate it. Do you remember what that was? If you could refresh my memory on that.
Well, I've got what they provided me in an email. I think what you're talking about, it says, if your department decides to deactivate services early for reasons other than budgetary non-appropriation.
Okay, non-appropriation, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, that's their exact
So
words.
that's basically defunding it.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, my question to Attorney Manthe would be then, if finance were to defund this rather than pay that portion of the contract that is still open, what's our options?
I would have to look into that specific question. I don't know the answer off the top of my head.
Okay, so I think that would be something that we could maybe look at. I don't know.
Right. I mean, we're still under an agreement where we've said that, right, you know, the agreement says that we'll make the payments, right? So theoretically, they could take us to, you know, small claims court, or it would be not small claims court, but they could
either
take us
way,
to, yeah.
Tonight, we could vote to terminate the contract, and the rest of that would be part of the purview of what you'd be doing in negotiating with them.
Right. The way that the resolution is, like the second or the last sort of provision is basically staff take whatever actions necessary. So we would evaluate the best way to get out of the contract as quickly as
And
possible.
that's why it's worded the way it is. Correct. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from alders? Anything you want to add, Chief, as far as your experience or your thoughts or anything, or did you get everything?
I mean, myself and the other police department members gave our presentation about a month ago now. We still stand behind that presentation. Again, we did this for safety reasons. These are valuable tools to us to do our job. I understand that there is pushback against Flock, there's pushback against LPRs. We didn't do this for malicious reasons. We're not using it to spy on people. Our audits are all available, what we're searching for. I presented the council with our own policies, which are more strict than most places' policy. So I guess we'd still stand behind that, but we will do whatever the direction of the council is.
Thank you. Alderperson Hirsch?
I have a question for you, Chief. Besides the Flock cameras and, you know, the whole baggage that goes with that, you used to just have independent or your own license plate reader where you collected the data and it kept in-house. What made you change to the wider system where we having more different criminal activity that recommended that, or was it cheaper? Or, I mean, to me, it was a big jump. And so I was just wondering what was in that kind of philosophy and mindset.
So with the BOSS system, to correct a couple things, we were part of the Wisconsin Elpers Association. It was a group of police departments that all shared information, very similar to how Flock does, much smaller because it was Wisconsin-based, primarily more eastern Wisconsin that we had joined in. At the time we did it, again, it was 2019-ish. It was a growing thing on that side, and we joined in with it. All of that data was not stored in-house in Stoughton. It was stored on servers at Greenfield Police Department. We operated that from 2019 until last year. Last year, or last year or so is when flock kind of became the industry standard. Everybody started switching to flock. That became more valuable in that the larger network is more valuable to us because we can see a bigger picture of what's going on. And then the BOSS system and ELPers was going out of business. So that was the search for a new vendor and the decision to go to flock. Did that answer all your questions?
Yeah, and then just a follow-up, because most likely this resolution will probably pass tonight. So with that said, what tools will you be looking at to still help you do your job?
I mean, as far as ALPR cameras, I wouldn't actively start looking at any quickly. It's kind of in a state of flux right now within the county, within the state. Everywhere I'd kind of wait and see what other jurisdictions are doing, what kind of pushback they get, allowing them to vet them a little more before we would join. Some of it is the network is valuable to us. If we were allowed to and chose to run out and get another ALPR vendor tomorrow, and then the sheriff's department picked a different one, we would not all be on the same page. I can tell you there's other agencies in Dane County that are testing other products right now. I'd kind of wait and follow their lead, I guess.
Thank you.
Alderperson Nito.
Yeah, I also just want to thank this group for putting the People's Resolution together. I know how much work you've all put into that. I took a stab at implementing some of that into the mayor's version, and before I knew it, I was making my own revisions, including language from Flock's patents, actually, because there have been a lot of accusations about misinformation, but if you actually go look at their patents, you will find that there's some stuff in there that's pretty uncomfortable. One of their patents is for a system and method for object-based query of video content captured by a dynamic surveillance network. It captures images, whether it be a human, an animal, a vehicle, a tree, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, these are edits to the recitals. I didn't actually make any edits to the resolution, so it's kind of a moot point. I do prefer resolutions with a little more context, but I think that this resolution tonight gets us where we need to be for now. And then as far as the People's Resolution, I would like to take up the process policy discussion in CACP and work with you all to figure out what this looks like moving forward, if there are going to be certain thresholds for, you know, the amount of a contract. What is the process for that? If the vendor contract has to do with surveillance, maybe of ALPRs, maybe of other kinds, I don't know, but I want to investigate that in CACP and determine what a good policy, procedure, and public engagement process would look like for making those decisions in the future.
Okay.
Can I just say thank you for doing that? Because I was marking it up too, and so I was like, are we going to create a giant amendment tonight to the original one, or do we send it back past this one tonight and then amend it later with better language that comes from the people so we can have a very thoughtful, well-vetted resolution? With that said, with the current resolution, I'd like to make an amendment.
Okay, so we don't have a motion yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Christina, did you want to make the motion as the committee chair?
Yes, so,
And then we'll do the amendments.
okay. Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Wozniak Scanlon, a second by Tillotson. Anything you want to add as the chair?
Not at this time.
Okay, and then I'm hearing that we want an amendment.
Sure. Just the word immediately is a little wishy-washy for me. I would like it say within 24 to 48 hours. As upon the cameras are disabled and secured, covered within 24 to 48 hours of this adoption of the resolution.
All right, and I'm going to look at the chief to see if you think that's feasible.
Based upon what Flock told me, that sounds like it's within 24 hours, and then if that were to not happen, the street department could bag them. I think if you went with 48 hours, that gives Flock 1 day to get their cameras out, and if they're not, then the next 24 hours gives the street department that next business day to cover them and make them ineffective. I don't see any issue with the 48-hour time frame.
All right.
I would just say within 48 hours rather than.
All right, I'll make the motion, say to within 48 hours.
All right, is there a second to the amendment?
I'll second Regina's
A
amendment.
second by President Schumacher. Any discussion on the amendment? Everybody's clear
Well, I
with
just
it?
had
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I had my hand raised, so I'm just
Oh,
going
I'm
to chime in
sorry.
now. So I just wanted to, because I don't want us to be on the hook if Flock does not show up as promised. So I just wanted the attorney's input on whether or not we need to tighten anything to basically say if they don't come within 48 hours as promised, that we have no liability for any damage to those cameras because they failed to show up and we cover them with a bag that melts on them or something like that. So I guess that's more of a side note just to cover ourselves so we don't end up spending money unnecessarily.
I would work with Chief Hill on that because we are leasing. It's not our property, right? So if we do damage it, there are potential issues there. But I think we'll work on a way to do it so we don't increase any liability.
So
yeah, and I think if they said they could come within 48 hours, in that email, and they fail to do that, then it just seems like that wouldn't be our liability. But obviously, as an attorney, you know how to follow up. So thank you.
I mean, are they simply like plugged in, or how are they activated?
It's solar powered, so it gets power from the solar panel that's on top of the
So is
pole.
there a way to easily disable the solar, or?
You just shut them down, power them down.
I don't know.
Get some oven mitts and duct tape it on there. Like, a bag is just the term that
Yeah.
other counties and municipalities
Yeah.
are using. Oven mitts aren't gonna catch on fire and we duct tape it.
Yeah, and I did want to hear from Director Abear to make sure he's comfortable with the direction that he might be given.
Yeah, I'd think what we do is, talk with Chief and Attorney Matthew and choose the appropriate cover. It could be as much as a burlap type material that would breathe, but still would not allow the camera to operate. I think it's also something we can explore if it's just simply unplugging it from the solar panel. It could be as simple as that. But I think we need to look at our options and also to not have to buy these cameras if we do damage them by putting a trash bag over them.
Yeah, and maybe you can talk to some of our neighbors.
Yeah, and if approved tonight, I think we can first thing in the morning do our due diligence on that, and then obviously they'll have a time to react, and if they don't, then what's our plan?
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the amendment? So, Candy, did you get the language for that?
I did.
Okay, what do you have?
So I have Alder Hirsch made the motion to remove the wording immediately from the resolution, and then in its place have within 48 hours to have the cameras removed or bagged if they're not removed.
All right. Are you good with that, Rick? All right. Council members, everybody understand? All right, all in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. So that takes us back to the resolution as amended. Any questions or comments on the new wording in the resolution?
Can I
ahead.
just, the wording is fine for tonight, but can we have a time frame for CACP to get the true resolution back within 2 months, month?
I'd like to structure it so that we have multiple committees looking at this, so that we
Okay.
get a larger input in there, so that then the great enthusiasm that the audience has put forward in here won't inundate one single committee,
Okay.
and that they'll have multiple opportunities in order to provide guidance and feedback onto getting language that we can work with
So
further.
you're thinking public safety and CACP?
I
I would
those
think
would be
finance.
Finance also.
Finance has purchasing policies, which we've recently
Yeah.
updated. I think it would be appropriate to look at that again as well. And that actually helps spread out the workload as well and hopefully create more efficiency if we can bring it all together at the end, if that makes
So
sense.
Before the end of the year, could we have it all done?
Yes.
That would be ideal. Sooner
Okay.
the better. I mean, we like closure.
Yep.
Our CACP meeting is next Tuesday, so we could get the discussion started next week if we can get a packet put together tomorrow, Thursday.
Okay?
So I've got
If you want to
some
touch
ideas.
bases with me tomorrow, we can figure out what to put in it. Okay? Any other thoughts or ideas? Those are all good ones. Hearing none, all in favor?
Would you recognize?
Aye.
Sorry, the rules don't allow unless the council wants to waive the rules.
May I repeat from public statements, the issue of transparency and allowing city departments to enter into contracts has not been addressed. I realize that that is a matter that started this. Is anyone willing to bring forward any language or perhaps look at the people's resolution for this resolution to get passed now to ensure that departments do not enter in? Would anyone be willing to please consider that matter? I appreciate and I respectfully offer that.
We'll be taking care of that.
I'm willing to take that up in CACP.
Are you willing to add something tonight that it would be pending, departments are encouraged not to act until
I,
something comes?
I can give that direction.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion as amended, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. You can choose to stay or leave. It's up to you, but thanks for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
All right, where are we going next?
We are on.
We skipped JT Klein, but,
Yeah. We're on the ordinance.
okay. Resolution, ordinance 14,
Signs.
okay.
Give them a couple of minutes to clear the room.
Sure. Ordinance 14. Oh, jeez. That's not what I want. All right, the next item is ordinance 14. And it's a first reading,
Plan.
and it's coming from the Plan Commission. Alderperson Caravello.
On this one, if this is ordinance 14 of 2026, amending chapter 78, article 8, signage regulation, and this is a first reading. And that said, I am going to, ta-da!
Turn it over to Munce Pritchard.
Yes.
How's it going?
Great.
Been awfully quiet over there tonight. It's your turn.
I know. So the presentations at the bottom of the ordinance, there is not a redlined version in here because it is unreadable. So that's why there is no red line version. So I'll go through the very fast presentation. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. Mayor, you're going to have to go to page 27 of the document. Yep, there you go. Okay, so we are rewriting the sign ordinance. This has been to Plan Commission a couple different meetings, and then the presentation was given, and then we brought it to you guys with recommendation for approval. So we'll go down to the next slide. So this is signs around Stoughton, so you can kind of see we have signs here. So there you go. All right. So why are we looking at the city sign ordinance now? Well, there's two reasons. The first one is Reed versus the town of Gilbert, and the second one is to clean up the language so it's easier to read. Go down to the next section. Okay, so I'll go into a little bit more detail on the Reed versus the town of Gilbert. If you guys are interested, there's a YouTube video that you can watch explaining it, but it was essentially a landmark Supreme Court case that significantly impacted the sign regulations for ordinances. And that was from 2015. So, all right, so the next slide. So essentially, what the ruling says, and I used Chloe the dog in 2024 as the example, right? So the ordinance can't call a sign based on the sign's content. So it can't say political signs are permitted, garage sale signs are permitted, calling out the Chloe sign for president. However, it can call it out on the zoning district, type of sign, and then the size, all right? So that's the distinction. So on the left, it says you can't say political signs may be up 32 square feet and may only be displayed during election sessions. That is, you're regulating it on content. So you cannot do that. And instead, you can say a yard sign, a stake sign may be 32 square feet and may only be displayed up to 10 days. So that is the Supreme Court case that came out of that. And I know some of you guys have had to hear this already, so thanks for sticking with me on it. All right. So the first and major one is the Supreme Court ruling. And I joked, I was like, I'm never going to do a sign ordinance again. And then I took this job, and here we are, right? Doing it again. It's great. So while we were in there looking at this, making sure it was meeting that minimum court case requirement, we also started cleaning up the codes so it's easier to find stuff. And essentially we went in, and current sign ordinance is missing things that were permitted. It just wasn't called out. So for example, off-premise outdoor advertising, which was also what we talked about tonight, roof signs, other things, giving those definitions to what they were. And then we added better definitions to it. So, you know, you can see the suspended sign, which we have some of these in town. And then we added diagrams to those so the people look at them and they go, oh yeah, that's what that is. Because honestly, it is really tough when somebody calls and they're like, I didn't see that garage sale signs where those are located, because if you search our ordinance, those have to be taken out because now we're talking about the content, right? So having those diagrams in there is really important, because if you see a yard sign, you know what a yard sign is, but you're not gonna know what an off-premise or stake or what, you know, whatever, unless you're, you know, sitting as a zoning administrator. So, all right. So the next slide, the sign ordinance, much of the intent of the sign ordinance regulations is holding true to the previous ordinance. So Chloe can still have her sign. The update has changed the format of the sign ordinance, additionally adding more robust definitions and images. The MUTCD Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Design Signs are not included in the sign ordinance. These are like stop signs, speed limit. I use the falling cow sign. These aren't affected. They're not under this sign ordinance. So, okay. So general overall have not changed. I have the list of those that haven't changed, or if they were changed, it was basically Scribner errors that were coming in, right? What we did do is I took all of the definitions throughout the entire ordinance that had to do with signs, and I moved them to the sign ordinance. So anything regarding signs was moved into the definition area under the section of the ordinance. Many of the signs are permitted from before, however, they're better defined. So it's stuff that was already permitted. It might have been in different spots in the ordinance. We got them all in the same spot, and then we better define what those were. And then how to measure is now in the definition area under those signs that are being explained. So if you guys have questions, just feel free to stop me. And then you can see the list of all of the stuff that was added. That blue section on the side is all the stuff added. For transparency reasons, I did want to talk about the off-premise outdoor advertising sign. We have a couple different billboards in town. It's not clear if they were regulated through our current ordinance or how they were permitted, but they are there. So we did go in and define what that could be. Off-premise outdoor advertising signs is what they're called generally, is an outdoor sign such as a billboard for producing campaign services or businesses not located on the site itself. And it goes into those definitions. So for example, when you guys are asking about the digital requirements, it actually falls back on state code, and that's called out in this area under number 4. So you can see those regulations there. They can basically only be on outlots that are adjacent or in planned business areas, and then they can't be within 1,000 feet of each other. There's all of those regulations there. Okay, the other thing that we did is we added like chart areas to the ordinance. So for example, under residential, we have low to medium density. You look at those zoning districts that are called out and then what are permitted in those zoning districts. And then you have higher density residential. So like think about a multifamily residential building, and out front you might have a freestanding yard, like a monument sign that's out there calling out the name of that particular multifamily residential district. All right, so when we go through the steps of this, like let's say I am trying to pull a new monument sign for the multifamily residential. I would go to the definition, see what that entails. I would then go to the area and see like in the area showing, is it permitted in that district? I can see multifamily and monument is permitted, and then I can see what those regulations are in that area. And then I'd go in and fill out a permit proposing the sign that meets the minimum requirements for the size and the placement. So then it has to go through the permitting process as well. All right, so do you guys have any questions about this that I can answer?
You have your own apartment?
I do, yes. I was like, these ordinances, the sign ordinances are very complex, and I wasn't kidding. I was like, I'm never doing this again, and then I took this job, and here I sit, doing it again. But it really needed to get done. It was one of the first things I noticed when I was here, that we're not meeting constitutional, freedom of speech issues within our ordinance, and we need to change it, so.
Okay. Alderperson Hirsch?
Well, thank you for putting this together. The question I have with you, and maybe it's more of a question for Attorney Matthew, say we later on tonight decide that we don't want that other big sign billboard going up, and we'd like to have like no future billboards going up, so what happens to the current billboards? Can they be grandfathered in for like a set number of years, or how does that actually work?
Yeah.
I can explain later. You got it?
Yeah, they would become non-conforming structures, so they're grandfathered. They would still be able to exist in their current state. However, they would be prohibited from doing like upgrades or basically 50%, I forgot what the code it says, but I think it's 50% of the value of them. They can't make like upgrades to them. They can do regular repairs and maintenance, but they wouldn't be able to like expand or do any renovations to the signs if it exceeds 50% of the structure's value. So they would be grandfathered. We wouldn't be able to remove them. If they are taken down, well, even because it's not even a non-conforming structure, it's a non-conforming use. So the rules are just different for structure versus use. But for the non-conforming use, basically, if they take it down, they wouldn't be able to put it back up. But if it's a non-conforming structure, they could rebuild it. But here we're talking about non-conforming use. So You want to add something, Chris?
Yeah, I do. Sorry to cut you off. So actually, this is one area of the code that pulled over from the original. It's section 70-807, and it's nonconforming signs, and it runs through the list of like what nonconforming signs, and then what they're allowed to do, and then removal of the nonconforming signs and abandonment and all of that information. But it's in the code, and I believe that was one of the areas that was already in the code. And just to give you an idea of how, this is pretty long, Rick and myself, we have been working on this since, I believe, December. So,
Just to reiterate Chris's point about the Town of Gilbert case, it really does restrict the city's ability to regulate signs. We can regulate time, place, and manner, basically, not the content. So the size, where they're located, things like that, that's all fair game. But as far as like the content, we cannot really touch anything dealing with content. The off-premises billboard is sort of like a very narrow exception that the Seventh Circuit has recognized, or the U.S. Supreme Court has recognized to say, you're technically with off-premises signs evaluating whether or not it's like a commercial speech or like if it's advertising something that's not located on the property. But the Supreme Court has said that's okay, but that's really the extent of what we can do, is just identifying what an off-premises billboard sign is and restricting where they can be located.
So I guess, could you clarify that with respect to what we were talking about before? If we sign this lease agreement with the billboard, and when I asked the question, could we restrict political or other sensitive areas that we probably don't want to advertise or have it as a bone of contention when people drive into the city? We can, because it's a lease or a contract, we can specify what we want and don't want. But if an independent person that has a sign, we can't tell them what they have, correct?
Correct. That's a good distinction. Basically, if we are contracting directly with a party for the billboard, we have more control because it's a contract. If we're just creating these regulations, the regulations have to comply with constitutional limitations. And even in the lease, there are certain ways that I would want to structure it just to make sure we're not skirting that line. But that's a good way to distinguish it, is ordinance, content neutral. The lease, we have a little bit more leeway.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Alderperson Wozniak, Scanlon.
Chris, what, quickly if you can, on commercial signs, what is our height limit and our lumen limit?
Let me look. I mean, it's been we wrote this and it's gone through several iterations, but I'll just use the billboard one because that's actually got its own slide. So let me look at that one really fast. So this one has, if the speed limit on the street adjacent to the property where such sign is placed is 35 miles per hour or more, the allowed maximum area shall be 300 square feet per side and a maximum height of 30. There are restrictions in here that are basically the sign has to be X amount of feet away from a property line. So if it falls, it's not falling on an adjacent property line, but that's probably going to be the most extreme height one that we're going to find in here. So.
Any other questions or comments? So this is a first reading, so it'll be back. If anything pops up, you can reach out to Chris and she can provide you the answers.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll go on to the next item. And the next item is R104, a certified survey map for a business park circle. Is that something you want to cover, Chris?
Yeah, so are you guys okay if I just paraphrase this?
Yep.
Okay, great. So what had happened, we did change the ordinance that if it's a lot line adjustment or lot combination, it's held, the city staff can do it. With that said, this one was an interesting case. There was a plat that was filed. The city did not sign off on it. It created a non-conforming lot, and this CSM is being proposed as a way to correct that. So that's why I wanted to take it for record purposes to show the direction that it went. It's in the business park. Essentially, it's taking, you can see the lot just went and cut the back half off during the plat. And the applicant did indicate they'll be doing a CSM to correct the issue. They had one of two choices. They could do a CSM to correct the issue, or they could do a lot combination and then do a plat. They're going the CSM direction.
All right, and this one came from the Plan Commission. Alderperson Caravello.
This one is R104 of 2026, a certified survey map located at 180 and 190 Business Park Circle at the parcel numbers listed in the resolution, and I so move.
Second. Phil, why don't you want to read those numbers?
If you guys really want me to read numbers, I can, but.
All right, so a motion by Caravello and a second by Schumacher. Any discussion?
I just found like a typo.
Okay.
It's under problems, where it says, see attached Stafford and Rosenbaum letter dated September 11, 2029. I think it's supposed to be 2009, unless we're in the future already.
It is 2009. Thanks.
That's right.
I'll get that changed, unless we want to pretend.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. So I think
105 first, that'll make sense.
our 105,
Yeah, if we do the CSM first. And
do
then
the CSM first, Rick? All right, so the next one is item number 11, R105, and this one also came from Plan Commission.
And this is a request to consider a two-lot certified survey map located at 1660 Oak Opening Drive, also under 2801 Bluegrass Drive, parcel number 281/0510-011-8154-2, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tillotson. Alderperson Caravello.
And I'm just gonna I'm out of breath, so I'm gonna let Chris pick this one up.
You did a great job. So this is tied to the conditional use permit that's coming up next. The property owner has asked to subdivide the lots. Each one will have its own apartment complex on it, but I'm asking that we approve it with the conditions set by the Plan Commission, including making sure it meets those minimum requirements set by like pending the conditional use permit. It needs to be filed within a year. There's an access and parking easement and maintenance plan that should be filed with that CSM because it's a joint driveway essentially going through and joint parking going through. And then the normal existing easement should be shown and proposed easement should be shown, failing to record within 1 year, approval by engineering, building inspection, fire inspection, any other conditions.
All right, any questions or comments on this one? So this is part of the JT Klein one?
Yes, and I believe Kevin is here in the back
Oh.
there. So I don't know if he wants to present on the actual CUP for the project, but this is related to the CUP and the development agreement, or the TIF agreement.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. So then we'll go back to number 6, I think it
Mhm.
was.
We can do
Yeah.
our 106 first and then do the TIF afterward.
Oh, 106?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, item number 12, which is the conditional use permit. This one also came from the Plan Commission.
And this is R106 of 2026, approving a conditional use permit for multiplex and apartments over 10 units per 78-105 parentheses G 3AII, located at 1660 Oak Opening Drive and 2801 Bluegrass Drive, parcel number 281/0510-011-8154-2, lot 5 of 51 West, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Butler. Are you still out of
And
breath?
what was that number? And Chris,
Sure.
take it away.
So this is the conditional use permit that is also, goes with that CSM that we just passed. So essentially, the Plan Commission recommended approval with the following conditions. To give a little bit of the background, and I know you guys have heard this, so I apologize that, so originally we had the MR24 and the MR10. We looked at what those were passing with the flexibilities, and that essentially became the new multifamily residential zoning district. This particular one was passed prior with a plan development over it. They decided to just go with the multifamily residential. To clean up, so recommendations to clean up the language of the original zoning, the new MR zoning district, it's requested the plan development, which is viewed as an overlay district, shall be repealed from Lot 5. This will help clean up the confusion. Meets the minimum requirements of the zoning district, meeting the minimum off-street parking. So this particular one, the whole, all of this information, that's a really long, and so the Plan Commission approved a reduction of up to 2 parking stalls from the overall requirement of 175 parking stalls, was approved. Access and parking tied to the CSM, it goes through the requirements of that for easements and a joint maintenance plan and all of that stuff to be filed with it. Landscaping plan needs to show the proper property lines in it. All electrical, so this is one of the requirements that came up. We always do our TAC meetings, we sit around and talk about what we want to see in these. One of the things that came up is that all electrical charging stations are to be located outside the building for fire access purposes. So if there's some kind of fire, they can get to it, the fire department can get to it. So I guess that I'm guessing there's a story behind why that was a problem, and that's why we're putting it on there. So approval by Department of Public Works, Stoughton Utilities, Building Inspector, Fire Inspector, any other conditions identified by city staff or Plan Commission. I am currently right now reviewing the SIP that will be at Plan Commission in August for this. Plan Commission will see that.
All right. Any questions or comments?
I just have a question, because, this is old farmland and soil's good. Everything is surface parking lot, there's no underground parking lot. It seems like, especially if this is going to be housing for seniors, the ability for them to have underground parking, it seems to be a smarter move.
There is underground parking.
There is underground?
Yeah.
I guess, because I don't see that on that.
I thought it was all of the plans were included in it. If they weren't, I apologize. They are on the Plan Commission for what it's worth. But there is underground parking. They had to get special approval for the 2 short. They would have to have underground parking for it to work. So let's see, hang on, I'm going through. If you go to page 15 and 16, you can actually see where you would pull in underneath. Do you see, look up at the screen, you can actually see the driveways going in underneath the buildings right there. Yeah, and then, let's see, yeah. It's at the very, it was at the very back, so,
No, that makes me happy.
Okay.
That was like, hey, that one, all this surface parking.
oh, yeah, so, yep, yeah, page 25, there's the parking. And they also have, what's kind of cool, I did like this, they have areas for, like, storage underneath, and I think that they had for some reason, I thought they had some of the bike racks in this area, too. But anyway. Yep.
Any other questions or comments on this one?
You want to call him back, talk about it?
Anything you want to add, Kevin? No? Okay. All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So now we're going
I'll let you
back.
wait till item 6.
All right, thanks. Let me go back there. I've been itching to do this one all night. Item number 6. It's
R97.
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 Yep.
Yep. And that one came from the Finance Committee, Alderperson Butler.
Finally, something controversial. R97 of 2026, resolution by the Common Council of the City of Stoughton approving tax increment financing development agreement with J.T. Klein, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by
Christina.
Alderperson Wozniak-Scanlon. Alderperson Butler?
I'll start us off and then let whoever wants to provide deeper. This is basically a TIF agreement for a little over $5 million, up to a little over $5 million for the construction of the 120-unit affordable housing development that we were just talking about. In TID 9, it's a PAYGO, so no general fund guarantee.
Anything you want to add, Attorney?
Rick,
Yeah. So I believe we've been talking about this project for about a year and a half, 2 years potentially. But this agreement is consistent with the direction that council previously gave regarding the total amount. So just over $5 million on the PAYGO basis. So present value is about $3 to $3.3 million, somewhere in there. It has a look back, so basically after the closing of the project, Ellers will look at the sources and uses, or like their actual funding sources and their actual construction costs, and the TIF amount would be adjusted based on, if they get increased financing or if their costs have significantly decreased, that would affect the value of the TIF agreement. It's on a PAYGO basis, so if the project doesn't perform as expected, the city wouldn't be on the hook to make up any shortfalls, but I believe it's consistent with the direction we previously received from council. Again, that was probably over a year ago at this point. So the developer acknowledges they've basically lost a year of the TIF cash flow because of that, but they have I believe they have their tax credits and their financing lined up for the project now. So happy to answer any questions.
I guess I'm concerned that why this isn't a closed session option, like we've always done for TIF agreements. Was that a consideration?
I think the explanation is it's consistent with what we already approved.
But we didn't approve anything, we sent it back.
There were multiple closed sessions. Again, this was like a year ago, but the direction from council at least was to negotiate an agreement. There was a term sheet that was approved that this is consistent with the term sheet.
All right, I have some questions then, we'll just do it in open session. With, one, did the sustainability committee, seeing how this is a TIF agreement, did you guys see this and were you able to come up with sustainability requests? I mean, I just see that they could do either a LEED certification silver, which is very minimal, or some Wisconsin Green built home thing, but it doesn't specify what it actually is, whereas in other TIF agreements, we have things really spelled out. So I'm really concerned that the Sustainability Committee hasn't weighed in on it.
Well, that brings up a question for me, which is, was this TIF application filled out before we updated the TIF policy? Like, what is the timeline on that? Because this has so much history.
Mhm. I don't remember the specific timing. Basically, their TIF application did include sustainability elements, and what they included in their TIF application, we've included as the requirements in this agreement. So basically, they'll have to certify that they meet those certifications that they've put in their TIF application.
But we didn't, see, this is the problem where in our closed session, because this is updated, we as a council didn't get to really review this and talk about this or what we'd like. We're going back on something that's over a year ago, and the language in here is pretty wishy-washy of what they're actually going to do. Previous TIF agreements, we'd said that they have to have solar panels that offset X amount of their electricity, or we required X, Y, and Z, and this one doesn't do that. And so they've done the very minimal. It's either or, so we don't even know what they're going to do. And we have no, you know, it's just very minimal.
Alderperson Nino?
Would it be fair to ask if we could just get a little bit of a summary? I mean, I believe this request was tied to affordable housing or senior housing. So was the focus on that rather than sustainability? Just a reminder would be good.
Yes, I mean this project is for, I mean, it's based on tax credits, and I think the developer might be able to answer like questions about the breakdown of units, but it's senior housing and affordable units. I forgot the exact percentages though.
There you go.
There we go. Yes, that's correct. So answering the questions as far as like the unit counts and everything like that, I'm happy to go over it. I'm Kevin O'Donnell with JT Klein as well. On the call or on live, we have Danny Afabli and Jacob Klein as well. Combination of the two buildings, it's an 84-unit senior tax credit building, along with a 37-unit affordable family building. So, as far as AMIs, ranges anywhere from a 30% AMI all the way up to an 80% AMI. Details, anything else, I guess, specifically that you're looking for in the unit mix or anything like that, happy to display it.
I think what I saw in the CUP earlier, which I've now closed, of course, were some conditions about maybe some bicycle stalls and things like that. Can we speak more about any of those types of parts of this that
So here
might
is,
help
yeah,
others?
so here's this is where I'm really uncomfortable. Because from a zoning standpoint, we can't be regulating who lives there. We can regulate the use, but we can't regulate who uses it. And so the additional bike stall, like the additional bike parking areas, were because they agreed to reduce the 2 stalls, and they also are required to have so many parking stalls per unit per our ordinance. But as far as, it's just like when we were talking about the billboard thing, right? Because you guys are doing the TIF funding, you can ask for these additional things, but I can't do it through zoning or conditional use permit. It would be illegal, so.
And just to put this out there, the RDA site is also a workforce housing site, and we put in the TIF agreement a number of elements for sustainability. So I was just hoping that we would do the same for any TIF, like we had put in our TIF resolution, that we would actually add things to it as opposed to our TIF kind of requirements. And so I guess for things not to be like spelled out of what you're planning on doing, it's either or. I mean, when I was briefly looking at the Wisconsin Green Built Home Standards, they're very simple things, and the silver is like one, not very hard to accommodate. I mean, to me, you would do that anyway. I mean, if you really wanted TIF money, you would have went for the gold standard, or you would have said that you were gonna do solar, or you would have at least given us something to realize that you're getting $5 million. So I guess I'm just a little concerned that the language is really wishy-washy in this, because it's or, so you don't know. I mean, it's probably based on what's the least costly, not what's best for the environment or what's best to offset costs for the residents. What we liked about other ones is that by doing solar, you're not only offsetting costs for yourself, but you're offsetting possible costs for the residents. And so I don't see that in this. And so I guess I would like to see that change.
I think what I heard is what we have here for the TIF financing is consistent with what we negotiated a year ago. And a year ago, we also negotiated the sustainability items. So I think if we were to go back and try to renegotiate the sustainability items, we'd have to renegotiate the TIF agreement, because it's going to change the numbers potentially.
But in this agreement right now, it's wishy-washy language that you don't know what you're actually going to get for the sustainability. And that's a concern. They can pick and choose, they cannot do anything.
But that's consistent with what we approved a year ago. It was wishy-washy as well. So now you're looking to change that a year later.
I'm just trying to be a good council member that's looking out for our citizens and for future development, which I thought we all agreed that we wanted to be more sustainable. And we weren't just gonna give TIF money out to anybody, that they would have to meet certain criteria. And I believe the sustainability part of the TIF was over a year ago.
Yeah, and I think that developer probably feels that they made an honest effort to meet those expectations when they negotiated this a year ago.
Probably.
But that doesn't mean we can't do better.
That's what I'm saying.
It's just a question of, I mean, we're kind of late in the game at this point on this one.
No, I mean, this has been kicked around a long time because they didn't get funding and we didn't know where it was. So it wasn't that we've been holding on. They didn't have the funding to pursue. So it's not really on us. It's been delayed not because of our actions, but because they didn't get the extra funding.
Yeah, I guess I would just comment to say, if the direction was we should have been more, like you wanted to see certain sustainability elements in the TIF agreement, that should have been directed as part of the negotiation for the TIF amount. The TIF application said basically to have the LEED Silver certification or the Green Home Build standards. So that's what we've done in the past, at least, is to have their architect and engineers certify that they meet those standards. So that at least is consistent with what we've done with previous agreements. If there were additional sustainable elements that the council would have wanted, there's obviously a cost that comes with that. So if we're adding sustainability items on at this point, it in all likelihood means that there's just more of a cost to it, and we're kind of already maxing out the available increment available for this particular project because it is a lower income project. So that just means there's less increment available.
Looks like Danny has his hand up.
Yes, Danny Fably with JT Klein here. Just wanted to chime in and clarify a couple things. First one, someone did mention bike parking. We are providing the correct amount of bike parking per code on that. I think there might have been a planner recommendation that maybe didn't have the right number, so just wanted to address that. And secondly, if you guys want us to just chime in and say weed silver and commit to that, that's perfectly fine by us. But to a couple of your comments, this is an MOU that we negotiated in good faith with you guys a year ago, and this is where the development agreement came from. We're not trying to pull a fast one here. This is what we worked with you guys on. So weed silver, we're happy just to say weed silver on that one. But if we're going to change where the ball is, then that changes the entire thing, and then it's going to elongate the process and potentially jeopardize the project.
It looks like Jacob has his hand up as well.
Yeah, thanks for having us tonight. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of, agree with what Danny said. Basically, we committed to WIDA and we've committed to Dane County on this deal to do LEED silver. So that's something we're willing to do. That's something we always said we would do. But I'm not in the habit of, renegotiating deals, at the 12th hour after we already got construction drawings done. So I would hope that we'd honor the term sheet we had and the good faith effort we made to get this deal to where it is today. Frankly, I would like to go back a minute though, because, you said that you've done nothing to delay it. And that's just not factually correct. I mean, we had to wait a whole year to submit a tax credit application because to submit the tax credit application, you have to have 85% of your sources committed. And we didn't have a TIF agreement last time because of timing and getting dragged out by the consultant and whatnot. So we've done everything we could. We got federal home loan bank awards. We've got money from Dane County. We've got, WIDA tax credits. Sometimes these things just take time to put together. But it's not a really great feeling when you take all the time and effort to put it together, spend all the money, and then your partner in the deal starts trying to, increase costs at the last minute. So that's something I hope we can avoid having to reopen and continue to move this project forward.
Alderperson Dino.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's less a renegotiation and more just tightening up the language in here to be more specific. It says, developer's architect or engineer providing a letter certifying that the project meets Wisconsin Greenbelt Home Standards or receives LEED Silver certification. I think maybe some specificity, maybe pick one and let us know what you plan to do, and that doesn't require any some details.
I think Danny and I have both just said we're going to do LEED silver.
So we would amend is that what you're thinking? You would amend it to include that language?
That's what I was saying. It was wishy-washy language because I didn't know which they were going, if they're.
Well, it seems like they've chosen a path. Is that an acceptable one?
That's fine.
Okay, so what do we have to do with it, Rick?
So I think there's a motion to approve, so it would just be a motion to amend to say that the project, the architect and engineer must certify the project's LEED Silver certified.
Okay. Somebody want to make that amendment?
So moved.
A motion by Alderperson Hirsch. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Nenow. Did you catch that, Candy?
Yes. Could you just clarify, was that LEED Silver certified or Silver LEED certified, please?
LEED Silver certification, so it's
Okay.
LEED.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And
Aye.
any opposed? The amendment carries. It takes us back to the original motion as amended. Any questions or comments on that? All right, all in favor of the motion say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, did it.
Can you make sure that,
Yep.
you always have these exhibits, but yet there isn't really
All right, where am I at?
exhibits in there?
Thank you. All right, we're on item number 13.
Yeah, all it says is it's plat number 5, and that gets really,
That's the actual.
Is this it?
right, but usually isn't there like a picture or?
No, it's just the legal description.
Okay.
I think I'll be 5.
All right, next item is R107, and that one also came from the Plan Commission.
And this is approving a conditional use permit for 78-206, parentheses 4, parentheses G, in-vehicle sales or service located at 1704 US Highway 51 and 138, parcel number 05110-639-8604, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tillotson, Alderperson Caravello.
Since there's a little bit to this one, this is a proposal to change what we currently know are familiar with as the Bay Wash Car Wash, which is across Highway 51 from the Walgreens. And this is a proposal from Taco Bell to repurpose that location. And Chris.
Sure. So, proposed with the following conditions. It needs to meet the minimum requirements of the zoning district for the site. Oh, so I'm going to paraphrase because it's so much easier, and you guys jump in with questions. Essentially, this is an older site. There are access points that are right adjacent to the intersection, and then there's also some site distance issues. I went ahead and sent this off to Strand's traffic person, and they gave back recommendations. So that is part of it, is they need to look at the traffic control in this area. And then additionally, the Plan Commission suggested other things that I added in here. So converting the access to one-way, entering a 45-degree driveway angle to improve flow, removing the outdoor seating area to create additional space for circulation and like backup, and then adding designated mobile parking spaces to reduce the congestion. Additionally, just sign needs to be, they need to pull a sign permit, and they're also gonna have to go through the SIP approval as well on this, and we got that in. It's going to be at the August meeting. They need to find like where snow removal goes, those kind of things that are required in this. But the biggest concern honestly was the access control in this area that's, you know, it's an older site. So they're dealing with what they're dealing with, but they need to make sure that, my biggest concern is it's a Taco Bell and having the area back into the street in the drive-through. So that's, and it was discussed, and it's.
There's a lot of people that make it run for the border.
Right.
Not with the lettuce like it is right now.
And we do have that happen at
Yeah.
another drive-through in town.
Yeah, we've seen it happen. We'll see how they resolve this in the SIP. I did, as soon as I got it in, I told them they needed to have it to me by noon on Thursday, so they got it to me at 1. I went ahead and sent it off to our engineers, and I'm interested to see kind of what they come back with. But they did change it to one way, but I don't feel as comfortable. So, but it'll go through the SIP approval, and the Plan Commission will ultimately have to give the final stamp on it. So I feel comfortable with the conditional use permit, the way that it sits with the recommendations.
All right, any questions or comments on the conditional use permit? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. All right, next one is R108. In R109, the next,
Like 6.
yeah,
Finance.
yeah, they're all coming from finance. It's about time finance does something.
Yeah, I know. He was talking about the committee, not the finance director. That's.
Alderperson Butler, go ahead.
R 108 of 2026 to amend the 2026 budget for engineering plans for Stoughton Trailers Community Park mass grading, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Schumacher. Alderperson Butler.
And Director Abear was kind enough to correct me. This is not for actual moving of ground, but it's for engineering around planning to move ground for the soccer field installation and trails.
All right. Anything you want to add, Director Abear?
Just, this is parkland development funds, so I know it came up at finance that the amenities within the park were, to be raised, but these are parkland development funds just to begin the engineering work in preparation for future grading of the site.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is R110. 109? Yep. Why didn't I see that? My eyes are bugging out on me, I'm sorry. There it is. R109. You went right over it. Finance Committee.
R109, 2026, amend the 2026 budget for contract with Capital Area Regional Planning Commission, RC for Southwest Stoughton Neighborhood Plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Nino, Alderperson Butler.
And this is to kind of work with CARC to start thinking about some planning around where they were originally going to look at having utilities, but since that's not going to be there anymore, to look at some
Go ahead.
Yeah, the mayor and I actually had, and I apologize, I should have been here for the previous, the finance meeting, but we had the towns located adjacent to this reach out about agreements between the town and the city. And then on top of it, we had the push in that area with how are we going to deal with infrastructure in this area. So we went ahead and CARPC ended up giving us a quote. I did put out an RFQ for interest in it. CARPC was the only one that answered it. They took it to their board first, and then this is now coming to you guys. So it's been vetted. This is the last step in vetting the contract.
Any questions or comments? So basically, they're gonna put together some concepts or?
I think the first step is meeting with the towns and establishing some kind of like border agreement, and then looking at potential locations for utility, like different utility, like how are we connecting these areas together and putting together kind of like a micro plan for this area. But really that micro plan needs to be tied to these agreements. And I know that they've already reached out and they're like, are you okay if we go ahead and start talking? I was like, the contract's not signed, but go ahead. So like, cause I mean, this is, they came to us actually, was it Dunkirk that came to us initially? So it's not, this has been something that's been going on. And then what's nice too is CARPC actually worked with these guys for, I think, some of their comp plan updates. So they already have all of the kind of, they've built that trust system with the town. So it'll be nice relationship, I'm hoping, for that area.
Because the road is partially owned by the town, right? Is that the issue?
Yeah, that's part of it, but like, how are we connecting in the long term through this area? And then making sure that when we do get a developer in place, a lot of the stuff is already kind of agreed upon. So all of a sudden, we're not getting pushback from the towns. If it's like, okay, this is the cheapest and most effective way to get through, like, let's have these agreements in place ahead of time so that we're not like, okay, this is the cheap, okay, now let's spend how many more meetings, especially at the town level, getting pushback.
Yeah, and at the committee, I mentioned a couple other things. That would be the Forward Development Group owns that leg of the roundabout, that acre of land there. So I don't know if CARPC is going to help us facilitate that or, and then the other one was potentially a future park and ride there.
Yeah, we can ask CARPC.
Okay. Any questions or comments on any of that? How long do you think it'll take them to do that?
I believe it's spelled out in here. I think that they did have a timeline laid out. I think that we said, like maximum a year is, I'm thinking what,
A year,
yeah.
so?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Yep,
All right.
right there.
Any questions or comments? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And
Aye.
any opposed? Motion carries. Takes us to, what, 110? 110, we're at the Opera House. Opera House
R1,
windows. And this one came from finance, believe it or not.
yep,
It's a big number attached to it.
yeah.
Man, you guys are spending money.
Yeah, well, that's kind of our job, isn't it? But responsibly. R110 of 2026, amend the 2026 budget for window replacement project at the Opera House, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Needham. I'm supposed to remind you about the landmarks.
Oh,
It's got to go back to landmarks.
that's right, thank you.
You bet.
I knew
But
there
go
was
ahead.
something I was going to forget. Anyway, I'll start us off, possibly Director Abear may make some additions, but we had budgeted for window replacement previously, but the estimate didn't quite take enough into account that it is a historical preservation, it's a historical building, and there are a lot of requirements that come with that, including windows. And so there's a substantial increase in the need, in the financial need. And passing this doesn't quite spend the money yet. The check doesn't get signed. It does have to go back to regional,
Landmarks.
Landmarks, sorry.
Yeah.
Anything you wanted to add, Director Aber?
Yeah. So we did, this project has actually been over a year in the making. And so we had some initial estimates that were done when we had the facilities study done about a year and a half ago. I don't think they took into account the type of window that's required from a historical standpoint. And then also the type of window that has to be installed. We didn't really get that level of detail until we hired an architect to put those plans together. We had a pre-bid meeting where we invited all the prospective bidders to come to the site and take a look. We had one bidder come, which was a little bit disappointing. However, the bid that we got back was for $579,000. Our budgeted amount was $350,000, of which we used $31,000 for architectural services, and then also some help with the landmarks side of it. I think it was woefully under budgeted, and those are things that we just didn't know at the time. We did talk with the contractor about how they arrived at that price. In the packet, there is a justification for recommending that you guys approve this, and in that justification, it talks about the conversation we had with Joe Daniels Construction. Basically, $350,000 of the $579,000 is just the windows themselves. So there's 75 windows, and then the rest is the labor to put them in, put the windows in, any incidentals, and then a small amount of profit. They made it very clear that these are not huge profit generators. They do enjoy doing these types of projects because of the historic nature of the building, but they are very complicated. They take a lot of care, which we appreciate, of course, but unfortunately, they do get very expensive. Any questions from the packet or just in general?
And you might recall, this was kind of part of that larger project that you did with all the buildings?
Correct. So, yep. Thanks for the lead in there. So, so during our study with all the buildings, they identified some deficiencies within each building. And so now we're just picking off the low-hanging fruit, if you will. Windows in the Opera House were on the top of the list to get done. We have some windows that have failed. Obviously, we want to do everything we can to protect a historic building like this, any building that we have, especially our historic buildings. So this was one of those items that was flagged as being something that's necessary to do, and to do it right.
Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. Next one is R111. And guess where that one came from?
This is the one I skipped in finance.
Yeah.
R111 of 2026, approved contract with Fisher Excavating Incorporated for Wagonworks Way.
Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Nino?
Yeah.
All right,
Sorry.
Alderperson Butler.
I forgot to turn on my microphone when I
Oh.
introduced it.
All right, motion by Butler, second by Nino.
So this is a street project, new street, Wagonworks Way, and it would include street construction and remediation on the former DPW site. This is for RDA site. And Director Hebert pointed out several interesting things. I'd be happy to let Director Hebert point those out again.
Yep, so this is, as you mentioned, this is on the RDA site as part of the development that is hopefully moving forward here. So this is to create Wagonworks Way, and then also to connect to an extension of 6th Street. So this also has some remediation within it, what they call the former DPW site. I'll have you know that we did not, we're not the point source for contamination. They just called it the DPW site. It was not us. It happened 100 years ago. But so that portion of the remediation is part of this contract, which you see in the line items here. So we have construction, 2 construction budgets, if you will, from 2 different years. I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
Oh, yep. And then we've also added a 6% contingency. Typically on these projects, it's 3%. However, with the unknown nature, once you start digging in contaminated area, we felt we should carry a little bit more contingency with a project like this. So it is 6% contingency instead of a 3% contingency. When it's all said and done, we actually are a positive $686,000. So that's a good thing, obviously. Any questions on this project?
Alderperson Hirsch.
I have a question. So if they start excavating and they do, God forbid, find some other contaminants, then what happens?
That would be remediated as well. Right now, there's a lump sum amount for contamination remediation. I'm sorry, it's a quantity-based remediation. So if they find more, we'll pay to have it removed. So we are not going to leave anything left behind in the site. We've actually made a conscious decision to remove it off-site. I know one of the strategies was to actually move some contamination around and bury it. We chose not to do that. We felt it's better to remove it from the site. We felt that being that close to the river, we do not want to harbor that.
So I'm confused. So this is just for the road, but it's also for remediation of just in the road? I mean, there was that map that had those A, B, C, and D. So where does this fit into?
It's the ghost.
It's the
Yep.
ghost.
It's
So
like
this-
the ghost or the teardrop.
The CD, the C part?
Yep.
Like, yeah.
So this is part of the ghost, if you will, and then the A and B, and Rick and Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The Alexander group is responsible for A and B. We're responsible for C and D, which is part of the ghost. Also, so the bulk of this in the roadway and adjacent to the roadway is us. The resolution 112, which is next, is the Riverwalk area. There's also a portion of that that's part of that contract as well. Did I answer
So
your
they're
question?
doing the road and the remediation of that site, so just, it's not just excavating, it's remediation and excavating.
Correct.
So this resolution should be excavating and remediation, right?
We can add remediation in there. Yeah, it's a road construction project. Within that package, there is remediation.
Okay.
Right, so the bid specifications and the or in the contract would have all of that work included.
Right, but it's misleading on the title, it just says for fish excavation for the road. I guess it'd be all-inclusive, that would be remediation.
You
in
want to
there.
amend it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to amend it to be approve a contract with Fisher Excavating for wagon remediation and for, was it establishing Wagon Works Way?
Remediation I'm sorry, remediation and construction of Wagon Works Way?
Yeah.
Essentially.
In the, if I can interject here, the fourth whereas, if I'm looking at the right thing, where it says current combined budget for the street construction and remediation of the former
so that's why it
DPW
should be up
site.
in the title.
Okay.
That's where that
So
was where all my questions came from, because the title doesn't reflect what the whereas is to.
All right, so there's a motion to amend the title to add the remediation. Did you catch that, Candy?
Yes, I have that.
All right, was there a second?
I'll
Second.
Second by Caravello? It was Caravello. All right, any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. Takes us back to the original motion as amended. Any questions on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Takes us to R112. We're going to get there. Yeah. R112 is coming from Finance.
R112 of 2026, to approve the contract with RG Houston Company Incorporated for River Trail Underpass.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Nino. Alderperson Butler.
I swear I'm hitting the button. This is to work on what we've called Phase 1 on the river front development, fill in the head race and trail race, and work on the underpass project. Director Hebert reinforced something we talked about in the last meeting, that this would then, when completed, would clear us to have ownership of the powerhouse. It would no longer be a dam building. I couldn't resist saying that. And so we would then be able to proceed with any potential sale or anything else we wanted to do with that. Director Hebert, did you want to add anything?
Yep, that's correct. So this project would, like you said, fill in the head race, tail race, and then the raceway within the powerhouse building. And then you are correct, the DNR would then deem this not part of the dam at that point. And then we could, if the council chose to market it, they could. So this also adds the trailed network, or extends the trailed network from the existing trail on the north side of the Ohio River, and then extends it under the 4th Street Bridge in the north culvert, and then back up and around to safely cross under the street. Within that, there is remediation work happening along the river front and into the river. So that's the next piece of the remediation work in that site.
Alderperson Hirsch.
I don't have a question, I have a comment. Because this work, there's many community members who are in opposition to this being done. I guess my comment to the mayor and to city staff is, how best are we going to let the community know what is going on? I think we should give an update in the hub about that the permit was approved and that this is happening before it starts happening. I think as we heard the community members before, they really want transparency and to know what's going on. So I think this needs to be out there before trucks are in the water and things are being filled. And I think that's just the way we should be doing things. So I actually encourage the mayor to reach out to the hub and get in front of the opposition and give them the truth of what's going on and what to expect, as opposed to us having to deal with the backlash because they feel that we weren't transparent.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions or comments?
What's the process to get this on the agenda for like coffee with the mayor and things like that?
I talk about it probably, I don't know, I'll say quarterly at Coffee with the Mayor. They do televise those meetings. I would probably want to include Superintendent Tony King in the conversation because he has more of the details than I would have. I know there's going to be, potentially more meetings with the DNR as we work on the next phase, but we do need to kind of get this one buttoned up before we start working on it, so.
Well, I mean, if we could do a joint press release with the DNR, with Tony, with you, and to really lay out what's going on, I think it's just going to be better optics than, as Greg knows, it gets put on Facebook and it's just going to be, once again, we're not transparent. Once again, we're going behind people's backs. People knew that this was coming out. The permit was in place, but nobody knows what was the outcome of the permit. So I think if we could create a really good story with the DNR and us and Tony, and to lay out the timeline of what's going to happen, I just think it's a better optic.
That was going to be my question, is what's the timeline? When's this supposed to start?
Fall.
Yeah, soon, but I mean, when?
Fall of this year, and then it'll extend into the spring of 27.
Yeah, so, yeah.
So this, sorry, this will be the first step if approved tonight. Then we'll go ahead and execute the contracts, and then we'll work with the contractor on a schedule.
So, and, I can reach out to Scott and see if he's willing to do a story on it. More than likely, I'll have to get, like I said, get Tony involved. And, at the end of the day, we'll put it out there, and if people are still gonna, say their piece, which is understandable. So, we can at least do our part.
Well, I mean, people have been waiting on this for a number of years, so some people are being really excited that something's going to happen. And
Yeah.
so if we have, I mean, Tony has lots of diagrams of it's going to happen and what's going to happen in this phase, and get that on the front page of the hub saying DNR approves this phase, this is what's going to happen, this is the timeline. Yes, we're going to get backlash from the opposition, but maybe it will also quell the opposition because it was approved.
Sure.
So I just think it's just good optics for the city to be transparent.
I think it also would explain what it's not. Because I think a lot of people think if you're starting work down there that the dam's coming out, and that's really the next phase. So I think that's a good idea, Regina.
All right, so we'll work on that. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. All right, so that takes us to 113. Should we do that one? Somebody's been waiting very patiently over there. That'd be great. R 113 to 2026 is coming from personnel. Who would like to introduce this one? Lisa, you want to do it, or you want Brett to do it?
Brett, since you're in-house, that'd be great, thank you.
All right. All right, this is Resolution 113, 2026, authorizing and directing proper city official to approve eliminating the house manager position at the Opera House and approving the assistant director position with an exempt salary of $80,000. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves. President Schumacher.
I'm going to let Director Gillingham talk through this one.
All right,
If you can pull up our slides.
okay. Click
While
on
you're
the-
doing that, I'm going to get started.
Here you go.
So, great. With the departure of the house manager, which is the position on the far left-hand side, if you can pull that back up. We go through a normal process when someone leaves the city. We look at the job description itself, and then I have a discussion as well with the director of that department to look at, you know, the current position. Is it meeting the needs of the department, or are there other opportunities for us? And Bill took an opportunity to really look at the Opera House and determine where we need to go from here. We've been sitting with this structure for a little over 10 years, and it's served us very well, but it's time that we step our game up. And you'll notice with this proposal, that's exactly what we're doing. So currently, we have a house manager, we have a box office manager, and an assistant that can work up to a total of $15,000, so that's capped. The house manager position, like I said, has served us well, but it's time that we do a restructure. Go ahead, Mayor. So what we're proposing is that, it's a busy slide there, but if you get a chance, I hope you've looked at it. What we're asking is that we put an assistant director in position. It's well needed, and if you take a look, then we would also be making a change on the far right-hand side and taking that $15,000 in 2027, we're going to be asking that that actually become a full-time office manager or office assistant position. So the question is, why are we going to propose this change? And it increases our competence. They'll restructure the existing house manager position into a director's position with the added responsibility. We're going to have project ownership, artist advancement, partnerships, hospitality, and operational leadership, as well as looking for opportunities out there for grants and other ways of bringing in financial streams into that department. So we're hoping to continue to be lean by all means, but we want to restructure this position to at least get us started in that direction. Tim, if you can hit the next one. So how we're going to accomplish that is we knew that there was going to be a deficit of funding going from a house manager position up to the $80,000 assistant director position. So for those of you that are not aware, we do have the Friends of the Opera House, which is the Stoughton Opera House, also known as SOFA. We approached them asking for a shared collaboration, and they have agreed to fund us $20,000 for the next 3 years, so 26, 27, and 28. Those funds can only be used exclusively towards this assistant director's position, and that would be covering the salary and benefits. So they really want to partner with us. They believe in the fundraising and the opportunities, the collaboration that's out there, and realize that there's some untapped resources that could really help the Opera House through this process. So again, that's funding for 3 years. If you switch to the next slide, you're going to see here at the top, this is 2026. We're starting partway through the year. I'm going to need a little bit of time to do some recruiting and get someone hired in this position. So we're anticipating that we'll actually have an excess in the funding for 2026 of $6,000. So that's taking into account removing that house manager position, moving in an assistant director, and then having that $6,000 left over after the $20,000 is applied. In 2027, just to give you a little bit of a peek into what the financials would look like, $15,879.04 is what the over budget amount would be. I also would be asking that we don't leave that overage in 2026 because it can't be used for anything else. So that would be applied to offset the over budget amount of the 15,000, which would bring us down to just under $10,000. So we're looking at 2026 being fully funded, and then 2027 having a shortage of just under $10,000. Any questions on that? Okay. Tim, anything that you would like to add?
No, I think the biggest thing is, as I mentioned at finance, and back around the pandemic time, we did a strategic plan, and one of the opportunities that was identified was the potential for more corporate sponsorship. And I think that an assistant director position gives us an opportunity to pursue that. And although there's no guarantees that we're going to secure that, but the hope would be that we would, and that would help, actually pay for itself, especially as we have a 3-year commitment from SOFA. We have to be able to budget beyond that. So hopefully the corporate sponsorships would at least cover that much.
Any other questions?
No questions? All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. Thanks for hanging in there tonight.
No problem.
Let's see, what do we got? One more item here. All right, so we have the billboard lease with Adam Signs. How do you want to start this one out, Rick? We've had the presentations.
Yeah, so obviously Adams gave their presentation tonight. So if the council believes that it's required to go into closed session to further discuss the lease and billboard swap negotiations, there is some other information that I can share since the last meeting that we could discuss in closed session and establish the city's position regarding the leases.
And I think we're looking for some direction too.
Correct.
Not necessarily a decision, right? But some direction.
Correct.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion to go into closed session? All right. We got to read it.
To?
Yeah.
Okay. The council may meet in closed session per state statute 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasoning required a closed session. The Common Council may reconvene in an open session to discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in the closed session. So moved.
Second by Tillison, and then we need a roll call vote. Candy, when you're ready.
Yep. Okay, Hirsch,
Yes.
Jensen,
Aye.
Tillotson,
Yes.
Reeves,
Aye.
Butler,
Aye.
Schumacher,
Aye.
Viano,
Aye.
Nino,
Aye.
Caravello,
Aye.
and Wozniak Scanlon.
Aye.
Okay, we have 10 alders in favor.
You want a quick break?
Maybe, yeah. I think so.
Take 5?
Just to stand up.